morning, students, or good afternoon, depending on what time you're seeing this. So I wanted to go over this particular assignment that I'm calling plot structure review. Really, it's just like a mini assessment to see, do you understand the basic parts of plot? And from the lessons and the practices that we have been doing together as a class. And we're going to be using Story the Most Dangerous Game in order to do that. So the first thing that I want you to pay attention to is that I do have suggestions and various, instructions off to the side. So for each slide is a different section of the plot structure. So if we remember, our different parts of plot are exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and then of course the resolution. Now there are smaller sub-parts within that we're going to get to in a moment. But I do want you to be writing complete sentences. That is so, so, so important, because if you're not writing complete sentences, it does make it a little bit more difficult to understand you. And I really want you to be writing between 3 to 5 sentences per square. So, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So the first section, of course, is our exposition. Now, what I'm asking you to do here is, in the setting block, you're going to describe the setting using the 5 aspects. So you're going to tell me the place, so where is it located, the time, so that's what time is it, but also what is the time period, the mood, the weather or climate of that area, and the social aspects or the culture. So what culture do you think that these characters have? I would be focused very much on Zaroff, because that kind of does play into the type of person that he is. You do need to make note that the setting does change in the story. So really there are 2 different settings, okay? And I want you to describe them to the best of your ability. It needs to be about a paragraph, so we're talking about 5 sentences because you have 5 aspects of setting. So I might dedicate 1 sentence to each aspect of setting. Then you have this, the characters. I just want you to name the main characters. So you have really 2 main characters in this story. And then just give me a general description of what they're like. So, like, are they the protagonist or the antagonist? General stuff like that. And then the starting incident, what is the thing that happens in the exposition that got us to where we are? So we're talking about this point right here, right? What was the tipping point? The thing that took us from the exposition into the rising action. Okay. Now, I will give you a little hint. The things that you highlighted in red. So if you go back to your assignment, so you know the pages that I told you to highlight things in red, like the names, the character's description, the setting, all that good stuff. That is your exposition. Okay. That's one of the reasons I told you to do it the way that you did. And I really encourage you to highlight instead of just read, because that was prepping you for this. Okay. Rising action. Okay. There, the rising action are the major events that move the plot forward, that are focused on the conflict. So there are six major events in the story, in the rising action. And so 1 sentence each will give you a paragraph. You can even list them. So like 1, this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's fine. But you do need to be writing complete sentences, so maybe 1 sentence each. For the conflict, okay, there are 3 types of conflict in the story. 1 of them is internal, 2 are external. I want you to identify them. And I forgot to write this in. Let me write it right now. And I want you to describe the conflict. Okay, so What was the problem? Give me like a good sentence each. Okay, so one sentence per conflict. Okay, so and remember the different types of conflict: character versus nature, character versus character, supernatural, God, technology, society, and self. Okay, and if you need help doing that, let me know. Quick hint though, in the assignment, the stuff that you highlighted in orange would be real important, I would say, to the rising action. So I would be using that to help. Okay, climax of the story. We know that this is the major tipping point of the story. So what is the most intense moment of the story? Give me about 3 sentences about it. And what event, essentially, what I'm asking is, what event started to solve the conflict or solved it? So in your passage, I told you to highlight, that's all rising action, orange, orange, orange. And then if you get down to page S, okay, this is where we get into going towards the climax. So pages 12 and the top of 13 are where you're going to find your climax. And then for the falling action, of course, page 13, this event in the story is implied. There is only one piece of falling action. You have to read into it and figure it out on your own. So what happened at the end between Rainsford and Zaroff? Okay, you have to figure it out on your own. How does the conflict between the two of them wrap up? And then finally, what is the resolution? What happened at the end of the story, right? 3 to 5 sentences about what you think happened. And of course, that's on page 13. That's going to be in the blue. Okay. So any questions? I hope that if you have any questions, you will let me know right away. Again, this is a mini assessment, so this goes into one of our assessments. The way that I'm going to be grading you is out of 8 points. Okay, so I'm going to be looking to see that you understood setting. I'm going to look to see that you understood plot. So if you don't know what I'm going to be grading you on, I'll show you real quick. So this is the rubric that I'm going to be using to grade this assignment, okay? And it is like a mini assessment. So to get all 8 points, you have to identify all key events in the story. So that's all the exposition, the rising action, the climax, the falling action, and the resolution, okay? And the conflict, okay? So you have to identify the conflict correctly also. And for the last 4 points, you have to accurately describe the setting, okay? Because the setting is so important to the plot in this story. If we didn't have this particular setting, we would not have the conflict that we have. So you also need to describe how the setting influences the plot, okay? So that's what you'll be graded on. You'll be graded out of 8 points. I do give half points and things like that. This is due in 7 days. I hope that this helps you and that if you have any questions, let me know.